Let's get ready to rumble!
Boxing
beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Did Cruz throw and land enough punches in the second half of the fight? He stalked. Looked menacing, yes. Tried to loop that right hand over the top all night. Caught Lamont Roach with a great left hook in the third. Knockdown. Left hook sent Lamont reeling. His back touched the ropes. And they're saying if the ropes weren't there, he would have went down. So, legit knockdown. But Roach was rolling Cruz's right hands. Cruz did some good work to the body. But so did Roach. And actually stood in the pocket and banged with him. And held his own. And outboxed him from the outside. In what was a surprisingly good fight. I'm not sure why I didn't think this was going to be a good fight. But it was a really good fight. Not a robbery, however. The knockdown ultimately cost Roach the fight. But Roach won, in my opinion. They scored it a draw. 2 draws on the bounce for Roach. Perhaps they awarded Cruz rounds for his aggression coming forward. Roach broke his hand, his right hand around the 5th round, and perhaps he didn't push Cruz back enough. Is the only thing I can think of why he didn't get the decision. But hasn't been spoken about much. Britain gained its 2nd male world champion as Jazza Dickens was elevated to full WBA super featherweight champion. As soon as Roach stepped in the ring to face Cruz, he was awarded the belt.
Boxing
Beats and rhymes.
no one can do it better.
So with Fulton coming in 2 pounds overweight of the 130 limit, sensing they're going to lose the sanctioning fee from Fulton is what some people are fearing. Yeah, sensing they were going to lose the sanctioning fee from Fulton because he wouldn't be able to challenge for the 130-pound title. They came up with the harebrained scheme to make the fight for the interim 135-pound title. So, O'Shaquie Foster won a UD, outclassed Stephen Fulton, and now he is the interim WBC 135-pound champion. Never in my days have I seen this. So now the WBC are awarding fighters world title shots for missing the weight. Let's see Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya defend this.
It gets even better, this, because they'd already ordered an interim title fight earlier on in the week between Nunes and Herrera.
They'll probably just make the Herrera-Nunes fight a regular eliminator, because, you know, they make up the rules as they go along anyway. O'Shaquie, he was moving up anyway to 135. What if he didn't want to move up? Then what would they have done?
I don't know.
Anyway, a badly prepared Fulton, who was coming up from 126, wasn't really expected to blow the weight at 135, but he did. And as good as O'Shaquie Foster looked, beating Fulton to the punch from O'Shaquie's southpaw lead and styling on him, looking pretty good, Fulton didn't look well prepared. He looked flat as anything, didn't look mentally prepared, didn't look physically prepared.
Boxing
Beats and rhymes.
no one can do it better.
Ed, I mean, what's happened even since yesterday? We've spoken about this Jarrell Miller thing, obviously, for the last few days, but then it come out yesterday that 2 further tests and substances have been reported by VIDDAL, and
I'll be honest with you, it is fucking unbelievable.
has he made it impossible now for you to ever
Yes.
work with him?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, forgive and forget. I can't tell you how I'm going to feel in a year's time, 2 years' time, but how I feel right now, I don't even want to speak to the geezer.
Has he made it impossible for you to work with him now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then he said, you don't know how I feel in a year or so. Yeah, well, in a year or so, he popped again when he signed with Top Rank, and he was scheduled to fight Jerry Forrest on his debut. 2 violations. The first one was severe, one of the most severe we've seen from an individual boxer. And apparently they're deep in talks now. Spencer Brown represents Miller. Jarrell, I'm sure randomly not, turned up to watch Lenia Perot, the Cuban, in Miami, outpoint Jordan Thompson. And Eddie wants to stage that fight. Can Jarrell be trusted?
Handcuff this brother cause a thief could not be trusted.
But Eddie's a little thin on the heavyweights. And if we're talking about the Cuban heavyweight Eddie's got signed, he didn't look great against Jordan Thompson. Doesn't speak the lingo. And he's a hard sell. And Jarrell Miller can bring a little noise to a fight like that. You know, they were discussing on Everything Boxing on Twitter that fight could possibly land on the undercard of Stevenson versus Lopez. Or maybe headline in Miami. I've got the receipt. I won't post it because, you know what I mean, it's too indulgent. But I did predict Jerome Miller to either pop or get disqualified when he fought AJ. And something in my head is telling me that Eddie is making a mistake revisiting this situation. He should leave well alone. And my advice...
Don't you do something that will catch up to you?
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
How can you make that decision to go over to Misfits Pro instead of a Matchroom or Point Group?
I just went to where I'm appreciated, though. I went to who offered the best deal. I've got a great relationship with the people who are running MF Pro. So to me, in order to activate the next stage of my career, to think the opposition and do it for the best value, MF Pro. So big up the family over there. We're going to just wrap the game and take shit over, man.
Actually happened to think, oh, I'm going to go to Misfits Pro.
I went to the people who showed me that the next stage of my career is going to be the most lucrative, the most successful, and the most supportive.
Vidal Riley became British Cruiserweight champion on the undercard of Eubank and Ben 1 April this year. And at 28 years of age, he wants to crack on with his career. His contract period ran out with Boxer. And of course, he didn't resign. He had talks with Matchroom. Nothing came to fruition. And now, as he titles himself, he's the first YouTuber British champion. He's signed to Misfits Pro. Misfits Pro is in conjunction with KSI, who Vidal used to train. So 2 British champions, you know. The heavyweight champion, Jamie TKV, Tottenham. And the British Cruiserweight champion, Vidal Riley, Tottenham.
They can't stop them, the boys from Tottenham.
Now, I believe Wasserman play a part in this Misfits Pro setup. They got Ty Mitchell. John Ingram has signed with them from America. Dylan Price, I know that name. And now Vidal Riley. And there's a few other fighters. Now, who licenses these Misfits bouts? You've got the Professional Boxing Association. The British board won't touch him. So, are they going to license Vidal's upcoming British title defences? The British Boxing Board of Control, because the only governing body who can sanction a British title fight is the British Boxing Board of Control. How will that work? The Misfits will want to put their fighters on the undercard. The board, they won't license them fighters. YouTubers, influencers will not be licensed by the board. But it just shows you how things are shifting in boxing. The British champion has signed with the YouTubers, the influencers. As boxing embraces the sports entertainment aspect unashamedly, and I'm guessing right now to maintain its survival with the amount of content. There's just too much content to compete with for boxing just to stay traditional alone. The question is though, let's say if Vidal can get past British and into world class, will he need to perhaps be on a Matchroom Queensbury Golden Boy stable to go any further? How far can he go on Misfits Pro? But we'll have to see how that one develops.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
All right, they've just started. Fast start by Johnny, letting his hands go. Very aggressive, Johnny. Very aggressive start. Pushes his man off. Bit open though, Johnny. I know you're trying to revert back to some aggression, but you can still use the jab properly. Don't smother your own jab so early. His nose red already, Johnny. Okay, looks very open, Johnny. Balaz tries to counter. He lands a good right hand over the top, Balaz. Then he lands again. Oh, Johnny staggered. Johnny's down. So knockdown. Knockdown. Johnny's down. Johnny's in all sorts. Johnny's going for the rugby tackle. How that he didn't score that and knockdown is some home cooking, even though it's in Monaco. Johnny holding on. Balaz losing vital time. The referee stopping. Balaz getting at him there for no reason. Johnny holding on. Oh, right hand. Johnny had to shake it off at the end of the round. Whoa. Reckless start from Johnny. A little shaky. You could say it was expected after the 2 fights with Dave Allen. This is his first fight since Dave ruthlessly dispatched of him earlier this year. We're going to the 4th. Looks very confident, Balaz, this round. Like, he's took the best of what Johnny can throw, and it's not that much. Johnny better be careful when he opens up. Wild shots from Johnny. Not really landing clean. Better be very careful. Big hooks from Johnny. Balaz goes down. Knocked down a piece, even though the referee didn't score the first one, which Balaz scored. Can Johnny finish it? Left hook from Johnny. Down goes Balaz again. Balaz angry with himself. Oh, great right hand. He goes down again and it's over. The Romford Bull is back. Or is he? Some people are saying he's finished after this display. Well, I think it took heart and ambition to get off the canvas and get the W. I think a lot of people are underplaying or underestimating how hard it is to come back from a devastating defeat that Dave Allen handed him last time out. There was a lot of pressure on Johnny. If he didn't get this one right against an opponent who was hand-picked, Bilal was unbeaten, but the one opponent who took him to a split decision was actually blasted out by Johnny early in 2022. So they knew what they were doing with the matchmaking, and it still nearly went wrong. Johnny has obvious limitations. A matchroom will match him very cautiously for as long as they see fit, because Johnny brings a crowd with him.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
And I believe him taking the fight with me too early, hasn't done his acid tests, and I dog him. He hasn't been to where I'd take him.
Conor Walker backed up what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to dog Pat McCormack. Pat McCormack entered the ring 8-0, 6-sided distance. Perhaps the fight came too early, but yeah, 30 years of age, standout amateur, height, reach advantage, a very competent boxer, a stiff puncher, coming off a career best win when he stopped Miguel Parra in a WBA eliminator. Parra had previously gave the number one ranked contender, Shakram Gasayev, a very tough 10-rounder, split decision, and Pat handled Parra with consummate ease and stopped him in the ninth. As tough and as tested as Conor Walker is, there was no reason to expect McCormack wouldn't get past this task. But Conor Walker, let's consider this. From my point of view, last June he outpointed the current IBF World Welterweight Champion Lewis Croker. They gave Croker a UD in Birmingham, but in my opinion, Conor Walker won that fight. And now he's just beat Pat McCormack, ranked number 4 with the WBA. Does that make him world class? No disrespect, but this guy was losing to the likes of Kane Gardner not too long ago, to the likes of Samuel Antwi not too long ago. He was destined to be a domestic gatekeeper at best. Conor uses his low center of gravity with that high guard to make himself a very difficult target, closes down the space very quickly, and won't necessarily just throw once he's on your chest. He makes you burn up a lot of mental energy and has underrated counter-punching ability and a very good chin and a superb gas tank. A lot of people are having a go at Ben Davison, but fighters lose. In hindsight, the tactics, trying to push Conor Walker back early, could be questioned. McCormack tried to block shots with his shoulder, high guard too. He was winning the fight. He was finding right uppercuts, left hooks. He was working the body. He was getting his jab going. But that body shot in the 5th that Conor Walker landed, Pat tried to firm the blow, but it hurt him. It was a left hook. From the first round, I didn't see no head clashes, but Pat was marked up around that right eye early, and he never looked comfortable in there. The shorter Walker was able to land the jab. Not saying he won the jab battle, he didn't. But even when he wasn't landing it, he threw it to keep Pat occupied, burning up mental energy. Pat was trying to get Conor's respect, but this was a tough battle. But it looked at one point that Pat was over the worst, that he took the best of what Conor could offer, and he was going to coast off to a points victory. And he nearly did so. This was a great battle, but every time Pat would rest his back on the ropes, Conor would try and whack him with something hard. Pat, more often than not, would respond, but Pat was taking in big gulps of air. They were talking to each other in there, really testing each other. Some of McCormack's combinations were really good. I don't think McCormack is a guy who can box behind a jab and just stay on the outside, not looking for trouble. I don't think that's who he is. And if people are going to blame Ben Davison for that, I don't think you can. I don't think that's who Pat McCormack is, but this was the wrong style for Pat to have a war with. Pat would be winning rounds, landing great shots, and then have to look to hold, get some air back into the lungs. And Conah landed some thudding right hands himself and has a great rhythm actually when putting his own combinations together, and actually works off the jab more than what you would expect for someone who's normally at a height disadvantage. Pat landed some beautiful shots, but he just couldn't get Conah to back down, couldn't get his respect, couldn't hurt him more importantly. Conah just kept coming forward. It's difficult when you got somebody that height coming forward, coming out of a crouch to make himself an even more harder target, not just to hit but to see, and then they're coming over the top with these flurries, not putting all his power into every shot, and Pat couldn't see all of them coming. Conah Walker himself was marked up a little around the left eye, had to take some hard shots, but he pushed himself on, knowing that he needed the stoppage, and he finished the 11th very strong, landing lefts and rights with both hands. Pat looked a bit of a mess coming out for the 12th. The right eye was busted up and they had a lot of grease on his left eye. All he had to do was hold on for 3 minutes and get his hand raised, but their body shots, them sneaky right hooks and left hooks over the top, and Pat was too tired to keep his hands up. I think he deliberately spat the gum shield out of his mouth to try and buy himself some time. You can see when Ben Davison was putting the gum shield back in, he wanted to coach Pat on what to do to last the round, but of course that's illegal. But with a minute left, punches were just coming from all angles, and it wasn't no particular punch. It was just the amount of punches coming at him, and he was punched through the ropes. There was confusion whether he should have got more time to get himself together. 20 seconds, I believe, you're allowed to get. But he was in no fit condition to continue. It was over. And Conah Walker pulled off the upset. And I'm assuming he will at least take Pat McCormack's number 4 ranking in the WBA. And it was an IBF trinket on the line, so he'll be ranked somewhere in there, top 15, top 10, I assume. And Eddie Hearn has to work hard to get Conah Walker a significant fight. Great win for Conah Walker. A rematch with Lewis Crocker for the IBF world title.
Boxing
beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.